Thanks for joining me, Carlo Campanella, for the next edition of my Iron Horse podcast, only at VegasExperts.com. In my last podcast, I talked about NFL reverse line moves. I gave you a free play on Minnesota at Dallas because I told you that 75% of the money was wagered on the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. But because the 25% of the money was made by professional bettors, the line actually dropped from 10.5 to 8 instead of moving in the other direction. And my free play on the Vikings saw the Vikings not only cash, but almost pull the outright upset, losing 27-23 in Dallas. Now, this week, I want to talk about NFL's backup QBs. And that's because most of the public just decides to play against the team starting their backup quarterback. However, the odds makers know that the majority of the money wagered will be bet against the second stringer, and they adjust the line accordingly. There are two perfect examples of this from last week's NFL action. The first one was when the Cleveland Browns started their third stringer, Jason Campbell, hosting division rival Baltimore Ravens last Sunday. The public jumped all over the Ravens as just 3-point road favorites, but the sport books were the ones collecting the cash, as the Browns won the game outright 24-18 behind Campbell. They easily got the against the spread win. In fact, the Browns are now 1-3 with starter Brandon Weeden under center, but a bankroll building 5-0 with backups Jason Campbell and Brian Hoyer under center. The second example came on Monday Night Football. The Bears had lost QB Jay Cutler to injury and started QB Josh McCown in his place. The public jumped all over the Packers at Lambeau Field minus 10 points, but the Bears pulled off that upset with the backup 27-20 outright. Now, these examples both show you that you still have to handicap the games and not just play against a team with a backup QB. Because in today's million-dollar NFL world and high-tech game film analysis, backup QBs prepare just as much as the starter does for the upcoming opponent. In fact, the second-string QB in the NFL today knows more about an opponent's defense than any starter did back in the 1960s or 70s. Now, out of the 32 NFL teams, 11 have already dealt with a switch under center, either injury or benching. Those 11 teams that suffered these benchings were Buffalo, Chicago, Cleveland, Houston, Jacksonville, Minnesota, Oakland, Philly, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, and Tennessee. However, these 11 teams are now 14-16 against the spread with their backups under center. That means they're cashing 47%, almost 50% of the time. So it just goes to show you can't just play against the backup quarterback. Now, based on this, I want to talk about a game on Sunday, November 10th, where the Eagles are going to go and face the Packers. And this is a battle of backup QBs because the Packers lost starting QB Aaron Rodgers on Monday night when they lost to the Bears because Rodgers, the all-pro bowler, broke his collarbone. Now, a former backup, the Browns backup, Seneca Wallace, will start Sunday at home with the Packers favored by 2 at Lambeau hosting Philly, who also starts a backup in Foles. Now, Wallace wasn't bad on Monday night. He came in off the bench, completed 11-19 for 114 yards in that losing effort. On the other hand, you have Foles, who was incredible on Sunday. He won 49-20 in Oakland, and listen to these stats. He completed 22 of 28 passes for 406 yards, but how about this? 7 touchdown passes. Now, what backup are we going to play against? Well, for my free pick, I'm going to go with the hot Foles. Not only is Foles just coming off that 7 TD performance, the Eagles are also getting 2 points, but here's the problem with Wallace. While he does have a week to prepare for this game, he's also playing with a backup group of receivers. The Packers are injury-riddled. They have tight end Jermichael Finley injured. They also have starting wide receivers Randall Cobb and Kevin Dorsey not playing on Sunday. So with those 3 starting receivers, that means we have a backup quarterback, the veteran Seneca Wallace, playing with a group of backup receivers. There's just not enough time to prepare off of a short week of rest because they played on Monday night for this group of backups to all gel together and cover a 2-point spread against Nick Foles and his Eagles coming off a 49-point effort. So I'm going to give you for free this week the Philadelphia Eagles plus the points at Green Bay, and I'll talk to you next week at my Iron Horse podcast only at VegasExperts.com.